We will open our monthly Village of North Bennington Board of Trustee meeting for Tuesday, June 9, 2015. We'll start with a review and approval of the minutes of May 12, 2015.
Well, I thought they looked quite good, except that Bill Scully is listed as both present and absent. And I'm wondering how you did be two places at one time.
I watched it on TV. That's why.
That's kind of cool.
I'm pretty sure I was absent.
You were. We'll cross them off from me.
Yeah.
Nothing gets past you, Janice.
That's pretty impressive.
So do I have a motion?
So I'll move we approve them with that change.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Review of the monthly warrant. We have two warrants, a corrected May and...
You have...
Oh, and the June warrant and the Wincoat warrant, right. And the payroll warrant.
And a payroll warrant.
Yeah.
Let's start with June.
June 9?
Yep.
This is the one that totals 19,405, correct?
Correct.
So Mary, I saw the change had to do with Kelly Fuels, and I'm just wondering...
Because I had not properly stated that the ending, like there's a monthly amount that goes in every month, but then there's a true up. And before I printed the checks, I hadn't noticed that the true up wasn't in there. So there really is, this pretty much trues up the actual to the budget plan.
So the way
It's a
we
I know
At
it's
the
a
end of
budget plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
They sent the payoff amount
The payoff.
for the end of the
Okay.
contract.
Oh, yeah.
so the budget plan guesstimates how much you're going to use.
Okay, and we had
then
some
when
left
it's
over.
different, they send you a final
Yes.
either
Oh,
credit
okay.
or bill depending
Okay,
on.
got it.
Any other questions?
I'll move we approve the warrant, June warrant, for
Second.
$19,405.25.
Bill seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's go back to the corrected May warrant. There was a misallocated check. No real change, I guess, in the overall.
There was a small change overall in the amount, a small change less.
Okay. This is the correct, okay. So if y'all want to see that, that's the only one we have. We'll take a motion on that.
I move we correct or accept the corrected copy of the May warrant, which totals $46,851.90.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the Wincoat warrant for the fire department. That's the first one.
When does this warrant run out? Or, I mean,
The
this
grant, I think they're getting pretty close.
You'll see on the, I've got cash balances, and
Okay.
there's just under 10,000 left.
Okay. And so that runs out this,
Well, when they spend.
When they spend it.
When they spend it.
okay. There's no-
Judging by
time.
the amount that was spent this year, halfway through the year, it'll be gone.
Okay.
And there's
But-
potential for
But
that.
I think they get another installment.
Well, there's potential. I don't think
Correct.
it's. I think they're
I don't-
assuming they may, but I don't think it's
Okay.
I don't think it's a.
I hadn't heard that. That it was at least,
Is it two?
maybe.
I thought it was 2 years, it was 100,000 each year. No?
It was 4 years, 50.
Oh, it's 4 years, okay.
50 each.
Oh, okay.
And they were hoping when that ran
That
out,
maybe, but yeah.
they would do another
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
So any comments other than that on the Winco? Accept the motion.
Move we approve the Wincoat warrant for $6,439.78.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
I like the red hot repairs.
And was it the payroll that you sent this morning?
There's a payroll and a special warrant.
Yeah.
As well.
Got it.
The special was on that big spreadsheet.
Yep.
Payroll was separate.
Oh, nice.
So the final is the June payroll warrant.
Motion, we approve the payroll warrant. It's grand total for the 2 months of $8,281.07.
Well, it's 1 month, June 12th through July 10. We're just, it
Oh, right,
straddles
right,
the
right.
month, yeah.
Please note
It's
that
half-
also the
half of one,
annual
half the
health amounts are in here, which makes it a little bit
Right.
larger
Yep.
than a normal month.
Annual health, yep.
Straddles the months.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Citizen comments.
No,
There's one more.
warrant.
There's a special
There's
warrant.
one more.
Yes. This is year end. I'm getting ahead of it. rather
Okay.
than wait until the end of the
Oh,
year.
this is the, okay.
If you need a copy, I have one.
Do you
No, that's
have,
not
how,
it.
how many do you have, Mary? Because I didn't catch that it was,
What this is just permission to fund the reserves that the village had voted
oh, okay,
to do.
okay.
It's the year end.
Yes.
Audit reserve, contingency,
Now, I've listed on there, kind of mostly for my own edification, the $23,000 that was the last payment on the vehicle. Because that actually was a reserve account, but we didn't pay it out of the reserve account, so there's no use
Right.
funding a reserve, only to unfund it. So, but I wanted it just to be listed there
Balance it
since they were all,
okay? So the truck, tractor, backhoe, contingency, and audit reserve.
I'll move to approve the special warrant.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. These new things we've never done before. Am I done with warrants? Thank you.
for now.
Citizen comments. George?
Hi. The trustees remember back at the annual meeting, I mentioned to you that this year the National Rail Historical Society is coming to Vermont, and a little progress report. Bennington, its focus is on North Bennington and all of Vermont actually, and the old Rutland Railroad, of which the station is a significant part. It's a very nice write-up out there. And I'm here with a request to the village if we could open up for an open house when the train comes down on the 20th, from the time the train comes in to the time the train goes back. It would be about probably between 11 and 1 o'clock or so.
So that's
On
a
the
Saturday?
20th.
That's a Saturday?
That's a Saturday, yeah. So that's a request.
Is that this
I'd be glad to come up
It's
and make
the
sure
20th.
things get done.
This month, right?
That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and second, I just wanted to make a comment about the park. Jan and I were down in the park, I forget what day it was last week. The park looked beautiful. The maintenance of the park is outstanding. Somehow, somebody, Norm, I know you used the machine, but somebody managed to roll a boulder aside that then they had driven down to the river.
They did, and I don't know if you've seen them, if you drive by Peckham's, but they built these, they look like an upside down ice cream cone, and they're about this high.
Yeah.
And they gave us 2 of them.
Oh, they did?
And I went today to go actually pick them up. And there's a tool that they slide down, and somebody had misplaced that, so they were looking around for it, so that's why we don't have it. And they are also I gotta build, I gotta take a 55-gallon drum and cut it in a third and make a little hook inside of it, and they're gonna fill it full of concrete, and I'm gonna bury it down there by the bench, and I'm gonna chain that picnic table to it, because somebody keeps bringing the picnic table down, and we keep bringing it up, so.
That was my next comment. Those picnic tables survived Hurricane Irene when the whole park was underwater because she did chain them. And that's the reason. And the third thing is I'd like to encourage the village to complete the signage. I've had several conversations with Mark. He may want to comment some more about it.
I'm happy to do that now. I had it listed under old business, but now's as good a time as any, I
Sure.
suppose. Yeah, something happened with the order we put in with a company. We had originally thought it would be a price that you had found the signboard for us. That was only available to nonprofits, not including municipalities. So then we approved to order the sign. It would be at a higher rate. We had placed the order. We were told by the company it would be sent out this spring. And then when the spring came, Lori had contacted the company, and they were no longer going to honor the price that we agreed on. So originally it looked like it was going to be about $700 or $800. We had then ordered it. Lori, do you remember that it was right around 15 or 1600?
And then it was 27.
And we were going to pick up, yeah, and we were going to pick up the rest of that through Park and Rec, because we didn't, it was very generous of the Laragos to donate the original amount of money for the sign. So we were going to pick the rest up out of Park and Recreation, but then they were not going to honor that price for whatever reason. And the new price for the sign would have been close to $3,000,
Right,
which,
2,700.
and at that point it was kind of.
Let's find a different outfit.
Exactly, and George had actually spoken to a local cabinet maker kind of around that same time that we had ordered the sign, to see if he was interested, and since then I've made contacts with him, but he's away on vacation right now and we'll be back tonight. So I'll hear from, I left a message at his work and at his home, so I'll hopefully hear from him in the next couple of days and we'll know if he's interested. And if he is,
I'll see him tomorrow.
yeah, I believe this is a meeting that we continue till the end of the month so we can clean up for the fiscal year. And if he agrees to do it, we'll have him try to get it done in the next couple of weeks, and we'll pay him, and we'll have it in hopefully as soon as he can build it, if he agrees to build it. If not, we'll find somebody else to do it. Yeah.
But, I don't know if Janice brought the plaques. You bring the plaques? Yeah, she's got the plaques that go there,
And I've got a few others that
everybody
you've done
knows
earlier.
There's
Yep.
more, and then we've got
Okay.
pictures and maps, 1830 map, and I think it's gonna be an attractive addition when it gets there. So I'm just encouraging, stick with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's in the works, and we will get it. Yep, we will get it done this year.
Just a thought too, we want to
Vote on the,
On the, wait a minute, there are more.
decide and find something.
And those are the rules that you can sign up.
Is that it? I think they're just three.
And the other thing I want to say is that if you don't get down there very often, the people we ran into were from Vietnam. They were literally right off the airplane, and they had come down there. They could hardly speak English, but they were so excited to see a covered bridge. They had never in their life seen a covered bridge, and they said, "This is beautiful." So congratulations on the park. It's doing great. I'm really pleased to know those tables are going to be chained again, because
Well, there's only one that's not.
there's yeah, so that's really good news, and I'll continue to help where I can, but I'm happy.
Would you like me to keep these with the others?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, might as well.
Why don't I give
But I'd
you
like to see if there's
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
we will get that done.
have?
Okay, thank you very much.
Now, George,
George.
and I'm glad you said you wanted to help when you could. And I can't ask, well, I'll ask you, what, we spent the other day washing the outside of this building where we could, but when those people come in to look at this, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get up here and clean this building, so if you could come up and.
My thought would be that this is the only sign they'd be interested in, and then we can.
Right, but if you can come up and help me tidy it up,
Yeah, sure.
you know, there's a couple meetings next week and people scatter chairs around and they don't put them
Well, I don't
away.
think there'll be too many chairs out. And frankly, for most guys, it shows outside.
yeah.
Right.
But I heard a little birdie, they were coming, so Friday we washed it.
Yeah, well, somebody,
Building
the railroad
yeah.
put a lot of money into cleaning up the area around the station, and
Where?
it makes me wonder if they're gonna do a photo stop here. I don't know, I'm not on the I'm not on the inner workings of any of that, so. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I will say a good friends of mine, one a guy who works for me, was married at the bridge on Sunday,
Oh, really?
and it just really looked fantastic. The pictures I saw, it was a small wedding, but I think it's gonna become a destination for those kinds of things when the weather's nice.
It's right across.
Thank you, George.
You'll be there.
Treasurer's report? You're not ready. Highway facilities.
All right, this month, you've seen it, we've been in the fountain around and worked on that quite a bit. The UV system, we're probably gonna have to add a little chlorine to the water every once in a while to keep it clean. A tablet now and again. I bought a bottle there last week and it cleaned it up. But that UV thing is just not cutting it. Calling a couple companies and they said, you know, they're not made to do the whole thing. They only lessen your amount of chemicals you use, so. But that won't, well, that could be a big issue or it could be a little issue, I don't know. We'll find out about that soon. You've noticed we went around and we started patching College Road and Church Street, and we used a different kind of product. It came out of like a pug mill, they call it. Then we finished College Road with traditional blacktop, so we've been quite busy up there. You know, the road is in horrible, horrible repair, and eventually we're gonna have to do something with it. We've met several times with the state on our intersection, and I don't know if you guys are ready to make a decision or go forth and change things on that, if you want to discuss that now or later.
Yeah, I forgot to print that, I printed it and forgot to bring it with me.
I got it in the truck.
Do you want to just, we can probably just discuss it. We met with, first with the state, then we met with the state and some of the concerned citizens that had, you know, thoughts about the intersection. And the state, the Department of Transportation was incredibly helpful in making some recommendations, you know, using all their, you know, their computers to say, oh, well, you could maybe do this or that to make the curve easier. And they sent us a document that would be their recommended change to it, which seems pretty simple. So the question now becomes, and correct me if I'm wrong, do we flesh out that design and see what, if it's even something we can afford to do? Would that be the next step?
Well, yeah, that would be a next step. I mean, it would be, I think it would be beneficial if we decided to commit a amount of money and then see where we go from that, you know what I mean? And I guess, you know, either way, I guess what I'm saying, if we only have $10 to throw at it, then it's not worth our time. You know what I mean? If we're gonna commit, then we're gonna put a pretty good chunk of change down there. And we've already vetted this out a couple times, so I mean, we know kind of what the figure's gonna be. I've met with several contractors on different sides. Again, with the state, they basically came 2/3 into that curb and then pushed it back to 3 feet like we had talked. I think you're foolish to go 2/3 and not go the other third, move it all over and be done with it once, because we can't afford to do this now, so it's again and again and again.
Did you see that?
And their picture, we can show you, it's very, very bad. You know what I mean? It's just it's pretty much what you see on the ground.
So, I haven't seen that report that they sent back. I guess I really need to see that to have any opinion at all about it.
Yeah, and I actually meant to bring that, forgot.
I'm also reluctant to, I guess I want to know what different contractors think that's going to cost, rather than to establish amount of money that we're willing to put at it.
You know, it gets, you know, you're just chasing it down a rabbit hole. It's not worth my time to keep going after it if we're not gonna fix it. You know what I mean? We've already looked at it 4 different ways and, you know.
David's been the main
that's up
one
to
with
you.
this. I don't know if he has any opinion about it, but I'm gonna need to see the report before I'm gonna.
The report is a picture with 2/3 of the curb with a line drawn through it. That's it. It's nothing.
Is there any further engineering that would be required to
No.
make the change?
They don't.
Then put it out to bid.
They they've done, that's what we've worked on, is us doing it as cheap as possible. And
You think it's something you can do?
I think we gotta hire a lot of it out, but it's stuff that, you know, that's the only way we can afford it. We can't even barely afford it then.
Yeah, the state has some granite curbing, because we'll lose some. If we go to move it, we're going to lose some. But they actually have some granite curbing that if we lose some, they can come and fill in. They've been really helpful with it.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
But they ain't got nowhere near enough. Not even close, you know.
By losing some, you mean when you try to knock that out, it's gonna break?
You'll break a few.
Yeah.
You may not break them all, but you're gonna lose a couple of them. So, and we'll have a little surplus because the radius gets smaller. But not so much that you can afford to lose a couple pieces.
It's crapshoot.
Right.
We could lose them all.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yes, you could lose every one of them, you know.
Yeah.
The scenario that we looked at is actually cutting it and leaving it in place. Because when you start jackhammering, you could lose that stamped concrete on the other side as well, because it's concrete on both sides. You
And then
know.
replacing it with new curbing on the upside of that.
No, the fix is pouring like an Alaskan slab up to grade level and stamping concrete and leaving it.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Now, I know Norm is saying he'd like, if we're gonna do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just completely forgot. Left it sitting on my
I'd
desk.
prefer just to do the 2/3, because I've been watching the intersection since this went on. It's very rare that any of the trucks even use that mountable curb at the lower end. They don't like that little bump they feel. That, cutting that back 3 feet, I think, destroys part of what we wanted to do. Part of it was traffic calming too, which that visually does do. And to cut it back 3 feet, I think, isn't gonna do anything, because the trucks don't go up on it anyway.
I think part of their plan too is to bevel, is to bevel
You
that
have to
edge.
really bevel it down.
Right, but that's why they're not
When
using
they,
it.
when they see that difference in elevation,
Right.
they don't wanna go up on it. And I think part of the problem is, because we have the crosswalks there where it goes down to nothing,
Right.
they see that raise more than they would have if it was, you know, the same level all the way around.
And I just think that the way we designed that is awful. That one section where that is a good, is it 3
But
inches?
if you do 2/3, you're gonna have a curve here and no curve here. It's gonna look stupid. Because then if you go back to it, then you're gonna have to buy all that curve.
So you're just talking that.
This is what gets moved, the shaded area?
Gets removed, actually.
Yeah, it just gets, it becomes road, effectively, right? The shaded area becomes road.
Yeah, because it comes mountable curve.
Becomes the red stuff.
Well, you could do anything you
Right.
want.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I would
Try to match it.
dye it and match it and leave it, but if you don't take the rest of it out,
So visually, it's gonna look,
it's gonna look fool. If you take just what they proposed out, then you've got to go by curve. And they got some miscellaneous pieces laying around, but they don't have, I'm sure that we're not gonna have the radius that we want. I mean, we can go look, but I've seen their curb pile. It's a chunk here, a chunk there.
and then essentially the intersection visually would look the same other than the curb being back, because, so the road wouldn't be any more, it wouldn't be widened any, because the mountable curb doesn't move,
Right,
just
that's
just the
just-
primary curb.
Just the green space,
Right.
actually, gets reduced.
Exactly, so you
Right.
reduce the green space and
That's a good way of
the
putting it.
red stamped area
But
is
then you said-
increased, but the
then you
road,
said no curb on the back side of that, no delineating curb between the red and the grass at that point.
if we go the whole way, we won't. If we do the whole thing.
That's the cheapest way out.
We debated that. I was one for having the curb, because if you're gonna give, then I still want a barrier there to keep them off the sidewalk. So, but then there's what can we afford to do and what is
But
most
that's,
practical.
then you go with, if you got a piece of straight up curb, that next guy's gonna go, he's gonna go all the way into that and he's gonna cut that.
Right, but we
We're
don't,
gonna have the same problem again, no matter until you get to where it was, which is not a reasonable thing. It's just not gonna be there.
but I think that effectively takes us pretty close to where it was. Because there was a sidewalk going around there. We have a sidewalk and a curb. So I think we're pretty close to where it was before. Maybe not exactly, but pretty close.
If they stayed outside where it was painted, yeah, probably.
And if they would go up on the mountable curb, that's half the problem. They still don't use the mountable curb, but that's not gonna happen.
They do, but it comes to that point in the end where it's gotta go. You gotta see that in your head when you
Well,
look at that.
I'm not willing to jump into authorizing any amount of expense tonight on that.
Yeah, I think we need to start, I think we should
We
share
should
this
all go
with
look
everybody.
at
We
it,
should
we'll
talk
walk
about
through it, talk
Yep.
about it. I wanna see, privately what kind of numbers you've had thrown around, and then we decide what we're gonna do. I'm not jumping back into this one, without significant, caution and care. I do appreciate the state's help with this, for sure.
No, they've been very good.
Do we want to plan a
Actually,
time
Bill-
now?
Bill,
To
will
me-
We have to warn this
continue
one.
We could continue this meeting.
Which we are already doing.
Whatever you choose down there.
Okay, yeah,
Because, and then
We always go in.
Because we are,
okay.
to the end of this month.
that's right, to do the final thing.
Yep. So do we want to, do we want to set a date now to meet?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we continue this meeting every year because it's to
Right.
clean up the fiscal.
But this will
Well,
be
you're
the
second-
just setting
Same
up the meeting, and, I mean, you're,
It would be another
you're
thing.
continuing and then continuing
Yes.
again, twice. Once to meet at the site.
Oh, so you're looking
Because
for
you're
a
all
meeting
gonna
time
go.
for the site?
Right.
For the site, right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lori. Normally,
I mean, what do you guys think about next Tuesday at 7 o'clock?
It's not,
I'm sorry.
That-
Tuesday
I-
at 7?
I know I have a conflict next, if there are other possibilities.
Monday, Tuesday, all next week? I can do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at between 5 and 7.
Time we're talking?
Yeah. I
No,
don't
no
know.
daytime Monday?
Could do daytime Monday. What time you thinking?
Pretty much any time,
During the
daytime
day.
Monday.
3 o'clock?
Sure.
Everybody okay with 3 o'clock on Monday?
Yeah. And this is to meet down at the intersection?
Yep.
I think that's good, yes.
That's the 15th, correct?
Yes.
And I do have a meeting later that afternoon, but this shouldn't be more than an hour? Okay. I didn't think so.
Okay, we're all good for that? Any other highway?
oh yeah, so, you've seen us, we put around our street signs, we threw, 4 delineators on that corner that, Janice asked us to do with, because people seem to just jump right out at them, instead of driving the speed limit. We gotta decide on what you wanna do with trash cans.
That's right.
Because they changed that law, I mean, we got a book here, you're gonna be disgusted when you start looking at trash can prices, so.
Now, how many trash cans do we have now?
We have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6, and then 7, 8, 9, 3 more at the fishing access that we emptied. They're kinda ours, they're kinda not ours. You know, if you go into that recycling law, which is July 1st, and I, you know, I don't know how everybody's gonna handle it. I've called around and everybody's just kinda like, they really don't know. You know, the big answer is the people who wrote the law would like you to have a can and then a recycling can right next to it. There's some discussion whether some people are gonna consolidate their cans. So we would bring one from the park and put it over here, or, you know, that's really not a great option, because they're the same color, people are gonna throw the same junk in it. And,
Wow, so we're looking at $7,000 to $10,000.
Oh, well,
Easy.
here, I'll show you.
It's not happening. You know, this is like the salt shed, when we're gonna come down and tell everybody they had to have a covered salt shed, and for 10 years, everybody just waited to see when there was gonna be.
That's the can
Push
that
comes
we
to
had
shove.
if we were gonna match.
That's the ones we have now?
Yeah,
So-
they're $900 a piece now.
Right, now you need two. Yeah, I was looking at the cheap option of having the dual ones, which are 900 and something for a pair.
Yeah, but then what do you do with the ones you got? I mean, I guess you buy a couple and then you tag team them up, but they're green, you know what I mean? Usually
Doesn't
they're
cost
recyclable.
$900 to paint one green, probably.
You know, well, they're painted with some
I know.
super rubber plastic.
Powder coated.
Nah, it's rubbery.
So do they have any regulation about how they have to be differentiated?
Not that I've seen yet, it's
So you
just
can
that
just
you
put a
have
sign,
to,
if we just had a nice sign you put
Has
on
to
it?
be
Big
clear.
recycle sticker on it.
yeah, you know, we gotta start recycling, but, you know, who's to say that, when we stick a trash can and you've all been out to the lake or over at the ball field, you know, and people put different things in different, so you got a recycled can and all of a sudden they drop a pile of unrecyclable stuff in it. Well, I ain't pulling it out of there.
That's what I was just
I'll
gonna.
wrap the bag up and toss it
I was about to
away.
ask you,
So
is
they
it
throw out the
then-
whole thing.
You know,
Right,
It all becomes rubbish then.
you know, so, but I think we were supposed to provide that.
No, I'm gonna wait until someone tells us. I mean, we're not spending $10,000 on something, a system that doesn't gonna work
Well,
anyway.
I would say if we do anything, we consolidate.
We consolidate the two.
Consolidate the ones, that's what Bennington's gonna do. They said, so you got half as many places, that's the law, that's what they forced on us.
which might not be such a bad thing, because, I mean, you know, Norm,
Give them a
when you,
waste can.
when you
and
give
get-
them a place to throw their garbage, they throw it right next to the bin anyway. And you said probably one of the dirtiest areas in most places is right around the trash can. People are too lazy to bend over and pick up when they miss the can to begin with.
Here's the deal, we got one in,
Fire
where the
hydrant.
original fountain is,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And we got one here, so which one goes?
This one.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah, I
cause
would,
they'll get used just about as much, you know what I mean? There's the,
But I don't think by taking this one and putting it down there, that people are just gonna start throwing things on the ground here. I think if you don't give them a garbage can, the people that are gonna do that are gonna do it anyway.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all, you know.
What I'm saying is that's a fix that we can deal with and say that we're attempting to become compliant with a bad piece of legislation. We do it, we put a recycling sticker on one of them, or on the top, or whatever, and we
people
deal with
complain,
it.
say, talk to your congressman.
And, right, and then, when you start seeing that basically every day, every time you're dumping the trash, it's a mixed mess anyway, that's just data that you can have to share with the fact that, you know, this doesn't work. And, you know, the small amount of trash that's dumped on municipal properties relative to what this plan deals with is,
So insignificant.
they've got, you know, they're gonna, what we'll do is we'll spend $10,000 on garbage cans, and and because of so much outrage, they'll change the law the next year. And we're stuck with a bunch of Cadillac garbage cans. Don't get me started. So you decide based on, you know, you got, say for instance, you've got the park down by the waterfall. There's one there, right?
Yeah, that one will go. Because that's our least used can.
Okay. Nobody sees it, and it's
You know,
very, so.
Well, but it's too bad, because there's people that actually use that
No, I
power.
know.
You know what I mean? And it just, you know, where you gotta move them is,
But it shouldn't, but I mean,
you know.
honestly, I don't think the fact that there's not a garbage can, the people that use that park aren't gonna stop using the park because there's not a garbage can there.
Right.
We're gonna have to move the two at the, we're gonna have to move two at the skateboard park,
How many do we have there right now?
3, but, you know, maybe, you know, we'll have to talk to whoever does in the concessions, and they'll have to deal with their own, and then, you know, then they could take one, and maybe we can leave 2 here, and then put 2 in that other park, and then call it.
Well, I can talk to Jeff Metcalf to see if, you know, if.
I mean, they
can
take care of
explain-
most of their own garbage, but
Yeah.
maybe they could throw out a box and try to relieve some of the pressure. You know, but we're gonna have to start dealing with that here, you know, inside.
Yeah.
we don't have one, we'll have to get a box and just use it. Just how it is.
Plastic container, yeah,
Yeah, one of those blue things. That the-
yeah.
And, I mean, there is gonna be, I'll wait till new. I've got some things under new business about park money anyway, and maybe we can figure out if there's a number that would make it work, buying one or two of these. I'll figure out how much, I'll get some pricing done this week on what I think we're gonna spend in the next 2 weeks on
Yeah.
just doing some things,
You know-
and then we can at least pick up maybe one or two, if that'll help.
The sad part is, I don't believe that the people that use public disposal, they're not gonna separate. The very few people are gonna
That's right.
separate. The other person's gonna walk by and just throw whatever he wants in, or he or she in that blue can or whatever, because it's not ingrained in our
Exactly.
culture.
Yep, you're right.
Even when I remember talking to Trevor about Bennington College, there's a culture that recycles all the time, and a massive portion of it was never getting recycled because it's only one person with one container full of food that soils the whole thing. And then it all goes to waste, because you can only have a certain percentage non-recyclable
Right, I
material.
know. No, they told us the same thing, that
This
they
hasn't
haven't
been worked out.
You can separate all you want. I said, well, we'll tell you, we put it all back together. Because we can't, because every bit of it's contaminated. So, you know, it's kind of like, you go through all this trouble, and they just take and throw it all in one pile.
Invest in a trash can company.
All right, so our paving project, Depot Street, has got just a little bit of a hang up. And it's a good one for us, is when we cambered all the sewers on the street, two had to be replaced. One was, the residence right in the middle of the house, and one was this residence right here in the front. Our sewer's perfect, and the blue house is perfect. Okay, the main's perfect. So, tomorrow, private contractor's going to go change the last remaining sewer. Now, we had talked about, this all done in this fiscal year, because it was the leftover of that grant money. So, I guess it probably will be really close to being paved, but it might go into the next fiscal year. And Mary, do you want to write the check this year? And we can just hold it, you know what I mean? And you know, or do you want it to go
You
into?
really can't write a check without having an invoice to go along with it.
Are we gonna have an invoice?
Yeah, I think we should put it in this year, and in a minute, when we look at not only what our cash balances are, but also where we are versus budget, you'll see that there's some good opportunities,
Well,
especially to meet the budget.
all right, and we can do that, and we always talk to getting it paid for in this fiscal year, and that's the plan that I want to go for. Then we have a retaining wall that is collapsing on Water Street, and we have, David and myself have applied for a grant, and we actually got it. We had to strong arm a couple people. We got a grant for some engineering, and it's a pretty substantial amount of money to engineer this fix. So I brought the power company down, we've had the fish people down, we've had the water people down, we've had a couple of contractors down, we've had a ton of people from the state, and I think we're pretty close to deciding on an engineer, and I think we need to go to an executive session for that tonight.
Yeah.
Because it's a contract matter, but that's gonna be a big pucker thing. So what I did this year is that what we're planning on is to have a buildable plan by December. We're gonna have to core drill. It's gonna be a big deal. It's gonna be pretty massive construction, what's happening here. So what I wanna do is I wanna boost our crack sealing considerably this year. And we've got a company came in, they gave us a bid for 10.5, and they're gonna do all of Mechanic Street, all of Madison Road, Ace's Way, and Susan Taylor Lane. Now we get a pallet that we do, and it's, you know, by adding it up, it's actually what we would just pay for the material, and then we would have to go do it. So we would still get our pallet that we've already negotiated with the town of Shasbury. We share, we get 2 and we each, I help them, they help us. And then I would go and we pick the other streets that have been paved not too long ago, like Polygraphic, you know, Bank Street where the concrete come through, and we'll go catch all those little streets. And at least we can do some of our bigger roads that are gonna be a big problem. We're gonna catch them before we turn into what we have on College Road, which is kind of a mess.
Just to clarify what you're saying, because you tied this in with the wall, what you're saying is that the best way to spend road maintenance money this year, so as to not, in other words, to save money so that we can prepare for this other project.
Right, start saving that.
Is not doing a chunk, right, not doing a chunk of actual pavement.
That's right. Because we kinda are.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be happy, we're gonna get a piece of road done. Now, when we granted, because we worked hard last year, we got some grant money, and we were smart about spending it, and we have enough to pave this road right here. So, which is a horrible shape, so, you know what I mean, it's just another notch off our,
And this is where this fabric's gonna be tested, and you're getting a good deal and all that
Right.
for, use it as a test spot. You know, the science of all this, I've gotta take the word of those who do it, as to how well it.
well, I mean, it's a proven fact. You can drive out like the other end of Madison and Overly when you go down the hill. And I mean, you see that, or you see any of them other roads, you know, River Road that we've crack sealed, it's not all pothole. You know what I mean? When we chip sealed Mechanic Street, now what we'll be looking at is in a couple of years, we'll go back and we'll chip seal that road. And, you know, it's not paving it, but it's saving it. Because the crack seal is gonna keep all the water from getting down in there. And again, like I said, College Road is unfortunate. It's terrible for the people that travel it. It sucks, but that road's so far gone, that's gonna need a complete rehab. And I mean, we gotta see where we're gonna end up in this other thing before we can even attempt to do that. I mean,
We're talking some big 6 figures there.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, bond, whatever, I don't, you know what I mean? We can put a shim on it, you know, one coat and go, might get us a couple of years out of it. But, you know,
You know,
this fabric test might work out, and that's the fix for that road.
I was trying to think, I remember it was when Ron was chair of the board, we decided to do a skim coat on Prospect Street and on Harlan, between the college, you know, at the T there, the college out to Madison. I don't know how many years ago that was. It was before you, probably just before you. And and you can look at it now and see,
Right.
you know, how long does it,
Harlan Road is one that we would try to catch with our pallet. You know, it's probably the last bigger road, and then we'll go with the ones that have been paved. Because what you really want to do is you want to take a lane, you want to take a street that's not been paved, like you've already seen, we went up West Street, right? We went up even past the Park McCullough House, and then it starts getting horrible, so we stopped. But, you know, you go up West Street, you want to catch those roads where they're good, and that's why Susan Taylor Lane and Ace's Way, now's the time to grab it. Now Royal Street is, again, it's the same thing. That's gone. You know, there's just no saving that. So that's where we are there. But because of the amount, you know what I mean. As things go, we move further in the summer, people get busy. It's just going to get more expensive.
So your proposal there, you had a copy of that, I didn't print it.
And that gentleman knows we need to pay for that next fiscal year. Now to give us a break, he might come early, but he knows he's not getting paid till after July.
Okay.
That's what you recommend,
That's your recommendation
Yeah.
for highway budget for road?
I mean, if you go in Pownell, they do it constantly. I mean, crack sealing is, it's your cheapest form of maintenance that you can do.
I'm all for it. I don't know that we need an authorization, or
Well, I think because it's,
Just
because of
accept
the amount of money,
his bid.
you know,
I'll entertain a motion to accept this offer.
I'll move that we accept the offer.
Fresh coat, seal coat.
I'll second.
Discussion? We've had it. All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so. And so that'll be it for the year of paving, other than depot.
yeah, well, I mean, we got a couple grants in the fire. There's a culvert on College Road. If we get it, I mean, we're not gonna touch it unless we get a grant for it. It's, you know, we really would like to went after the structures grant, but we needed to go after that for that wall.
Yeah.
You know, when you're taking your little field trip at the intersection, we can mosey down and you see the rest of it. I mean, you know, if you drive up Water Street, and it was actually Ed Corey that first saw it, and it wasn't there in the spring, and he called and he says, that don't look right. You know, I just drove by with my backhoe and I went by it yesterday and it wasn't like that. It dropped.
It's like what was happening on Silk Road, that Bennington had the problem along the river there.
Right.
Same thing. It started
They're
to
actually
slide.
coming tomorrow because they're gonna grind a keyway for us. So when we do a patch, we're gonna pave a patch on top of it. And they're gonna grind a keyway so that, you know, so there's no seamless joints, so the water will at least run past it and not keep going, diving into the crack and pushing that wall out. But things
Yeah.
should start, I mean, that can't be a procrastinating project.
It's gonna be expensive, too.
Let's gotta get a couple wheels in motion and then see what happens.
This grant was $55,000 or $45,000 just to look at the
For
problem.
engineering, right?
Just to agree that there's a problem.
There are, then the other grants for actual construction are 90-10.
Yeah, and this is 90/10.
But the plan is to break it up because of the grant, the structures grants are only $175,000. Right? So we know we're gonna have engineering in that, and so has everybody else that we have to deal with. So we applied for a grant to get the engineering. So, like I said, we want to, by December, actually have a buildable plan in our hands. I've contacted the sewer department, I've contacted the water department, the power company. I'm having a problem with the phone company, but the power company says they're gonna help me with that. You know, with the fish people, like I said, the river.
It's on a
you know.
waterway.
So once we start working, we can get everybody around the table, so if anybody wants to throw up the flag and say, hey, this is a problem in my area. I mean, we could really be talking, we're gonna have to rent an excavator to hold that telephone pole where they're working on it. Because there's nowhere to put another pole. You know, this could be a big problem.
You said yesterday they were looking at maybe moving it across the street, but that's not,
Well, it's a scenario option, and
Right.
engineers are
That-
talking about it, then you know, you have right-of-way issues and,
yep.
you know, this and that, and neighborhood, so we gotta hire an engineer, and then we gotta go forward and start making our plan. And again, once we get this buildable plan, one of the answers is to actually wait till it collapses. And then the grant structure completely changes,
Now it's a disaster.
you know.
You
and
want the
that's not a great-
FEMA letter here?
That's not a great answer. But the state, that's been recommended in more than one area, okay?
Because it's a state highway, they'll act rapidly at that point.
Right, but it will be in everybody's best interest if we already have that buildable plan in our hands.
And
So
it may
basically
happen
their
anyway.
answer was, it belongs to us until something happens, then it belongs to them.
No, then it still belongs to us.
But they can jump in if something happens.
There's deeper pockets that they can help us reach into. There's no guarantee that that's gonna happen either.
Sure.
But it's,
This money is.
Outside of the structures grant.
The
they would be able
structures
to
grant is
charge.
totally controlled by the state, which is good, because if Norman does any work, that can be part of the matching. Where if it gets into the federal money, that's not allowed. And you still gotta pay 10%.
but just think of this, and I don't wanna prolong this meeting, but just think of just traffic. I mean, so you drive by and look at that guardrail, and you'll see the dip in that guardrail. Just think about traffic on there. We gotta hire somebody to do that, because I can't be in 4 different places at one time. And it's just not feasible, and it's on a corner, so it's even worse, and you can't.
No,
you'll
that
come
road's
one
get-
way, you
that
don't
road's
see it
getting
until you're like
closed.
right there.
The way I see it, that road's closed when they're doing that work.
Or one way
Or
or
one
something.
way.
Well,
And then you've got like you said, you got Park
Right,
Street.
but there's
being
still
used.
traffic control, you don't just,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't just close the road and just, you know, there's mills and
Yep.
commerce and, you know, there's a lot of fish in this pond that has to be dealt with. That's it for now.
Okay.
Well, thanks for the downer. DRB.
Do we want to go back to the treasurer's
Oh,
report?
treasure ready?
Yes, I
Okay.
I just shook off the right of cramp.
All right.
And I will forewarn you, I'm gonna arrive in Norm on time here.
Okay.
I got quite a bit to go over. Couple of things. The first, I wanted to go over where our account balances are at the end of the year here. I think I have a couple of extras to pass them around, just so that we can begin to anticipate what money we're gonna have when we begin the fiscal year. The second thing I want to do then is look at where we are with actual expenses versus budget. But the cash flow is different from where we stand on expenses versus budget. So first thing, although this is titled 531, the cash account balances are really where we are right now.
Okay, this has got the money transferred from,
This does not have the money transferred.
okay.
Okay? So this is where we are right as of today, about $144,000. Of course, the Windcoat money does not belong to us, but here's where we had $30,000 at the beginning of the year, and we have $10,000 left. There was about $22,000 spent. So just something that I think we need to bear in mind, if not for this year coming up, then the next year when it comes to budgeting, if for some reason this grant would not be renewed or refreshed in any way. So the other things that we have, all these restricted funds, are where they are right now. We will take approximately $29,000 out of this 135,000 roughly, and that will fund reserves. We also have, still in that firehouse reserve, about $22,000 that is going to come out of there, because that was for all this, the outside stairway, etc. Never moved that. I'll do that now. So once we add in the firehouse reserve and fund the other ones, there'll be roughly $130,000 left, somewhere in that vicinity. Now, of that, we need to figure out, which we'll get to in a minute, what else we need to spend this in June. Norm just mentioned something about the $10,500 for the ceiling. The other thing I don't know is that grader. We haven't paid for that.
Let's back up a minute.
Okay.
The 10.5 is gonna go in next year's.
Next
What
year,
he's
that's
talking
what
about
I'm-
is more like, is the 20. Was it 20? There's 20 we need to spend for Depot Street this year.
Okay.
The 10 will not till next.
All right. So I don't necessarily need to keep a running
Okay.
total of it right now, but just between now and when we continue, we'll want to get all of these expenses together, and I have some more notes to talk about when we actually look at expenses versus budget. But what I really wanted to kind of look at here is that, assuming right now, if we only did those things, we'll have about $130,000. Last year, in the first quarter, we spent, that would be kind of recurring things, that were not grant money, not fixing firehouse stairs, just under $100,000. So that would leave us with, and included in that was the fact that we spent, I want to say $15,000, 12 or 15 on insurance. Now remember, this year we paid the full years of insurance, so that's still sitting on our balance sheet. So that's already spent money we won't have to spend cash balance-wise next year. I guess the bottom line, just quick back of the envelope figuring, is that leaves us somewhere with $30,000 to $45,000 that we could spend in June and still get through all, if not most of the quarter, before we'd have to think about, I guess my bottom line is we may not have to borrow for taxes, or anticipation of taxes this year, which I think would be just great, if we could do that.
Mary, remember, we're buying a truck
Well, hold on, that's next year, right?
after July 1.
Yes, and then we'll look at that. Now, again, when we talk about that truck, which we probably we'll look at the various options we have to pay for it, because you do have your 47,000 in your truck reserve, which I know is not all for one truck, but there's options that we want to do. And then we're gonna put $15,000 more in there,
Right.
I think, so.
And we're gonna have a trade.
Yeah, but when I'm talking about just general everyday expenses, nothing extraordinary, I don't know, I was a little encouraged that I thought it could.
No, that's great.
pretty good.
I
I
think
thought it
that's
looked
great.
pretty good with that.
Are those numbers then down below the reserves? Those are,
Those are the reserves right now. That
No.
is not the reserves with the additional
Just before.
29,000.
right.
Before the additions.
I have a concern about the village contingency fund. I don't think it exists anymore.
Yes, it's still there.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that in working on our budget last year, we decided to, well, it was when we were dealing with the Bank Street project, we decided to eliminate it,
Oh,
to spend it.
It's still in its own account.
Well, then, we managed to, that's great, if that's.
Down payment on the
Started down
changes,
the road.
right?
There you go.
Well, I did want to ask you guys that, the sidewalk scoping, we got 90% back on the grants on that. Did you intend for the other 10% of that to come out of this sidewalk reserve?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then when we meet at the end of the month, I'll have that all tallied up, because then that will be additional monies that will be
Okay.
available for cash flow. So we want to do that.
Now, on any of these restricted funds, if there's something that really applies, I think we should take it right away. Otherwise, those restricted funds just can kind
They
of,
just sit there.
they sit there and they can kind of strap you
Right.
when you don't have the cash you need for something else, when you could have applied it.
And again, a discussion for another day, but I still think it would behoove us to spend some time, and I don't mean just hours, really developing a comprehensive capital plan so that we can plan out exactly what we would need for what kind of equipment in what years and how we might fund it, other than, combination perhaps of raising money through reserves, and then also, whether it's leasing or borrowing at that point in time or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But we should put a pen to that and see what that's gonna be. So, the good news is, we do not need to borrow money in July.
Okay?
Might in August, perhaps in September, but at least for right now, I'm
The
not.
further we push that, the less we
Yeah,
pay.
last year I just wasn't sure what end was up, and we did that, but I don't think we'll need to.
Okay.
So the second thing I do, and while I'm handing this one out, I would like to mention that there still is no treasurer telephone. It has not been working since basically January. There is no treasurer phone. Right now, it's not an issue, because virtually anybody who needs me, I give everybody my home number, my cell number, my email. But come September and we're sending out tax bills, I don't want to be putting my cell phone number on tax bills.
Well, it is a big issue, because in the wintertime, this building,
If
Heat
there's
goes
any
out
additional-
considerably.
oh,
and that phone's hooked up
I
to
think
the dialer,
It was.
no, it is, but,
It's not working.
yeah. Remember we
Because
had,
we canceled it, because, right? Is that what we did? We canceled the lines?
I have no idea what,
There was a
remember,
line that went
our
to-
phone bills were screwy. I have no idea what happened in this building.
I think so, yeah. Yep.
All we did was switch the highway garage and get rid of some crazy long distance thing that they used to chisel
I know.
out with a stone, and got our phone system up there, and then we investigated getting the same package for this building. So if we had somebody move into it, now, we can still We
whatever
can still
happened.
move with that, but
It hasn't-
we definitely need a
there's been
phone.
no- Yeah, whatever happened, there has been no phone since.
We're getting any bills for the phone here?
Oh, no,
Yeah, you do.
not for this number. I have not seen a bill where I can see that.
It's underneath a different, I'll show it to you.
Okay,
Well,
because there is no
We've
phone.
called Matthew.
oh, is this Verizon? Or
No.
Fairpoint, whatever?
Fairpoint.
Yeah.
Then show me that, because I was trying to look to see, and I could not see that, the treasurer's number on that. So, one way or the other, it's just a nuisance, and it's really not fair to people.
No, it's
Well, all I can really do is, I think all we could do is just say,
Yeah.
fix it. You know, figure it out and get an active line here. If Norm recommends looking into the Comcast version,
Well, the only thing I tell you was Comcast, you know, you hung up the phone and then, like magic, the thing happened. And I can't tell you, you know, because Lori got those other bills, you know, all the other bills for the highway garage have ceased, correct?
Yes, this is your bill, actually.
That's the only bill that we get.
And then there was a $47 refund that came just recently.
All right, so, you know, I would
the Fairpoint thing is.
call them, hand them that number and say, sort it. And you could get
Well,
your
I'll be happy to.
internet,
Well,
internet.
But you have to have the cable here. We have an out cable, I don't know if we have an in cable.
Than what was there before, you might want to think about just saying.
It was $100, right?
If we can do that.
A month?
I said it's more expensive than it was before, so I think you might want to think about it before you just say switch it.
Well, how much more expensive?
I don't have all my paperwork.
They
right
have
here,
great
but I-
introductory rates.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
So,
well, if we're paying money for a line that doesn't work,
Right.
we're paying, that's more money after bad than.
There's one line, there's two lines in here. One line works and one line doesn't. The 5547 doesn't work,
no,
but the 1305 does work.
And that's, and where does that ring? Is that
Upstairs.
Dan's?
Yeah.
so I don't know
Does
whether
Dan
it's-
feel like he needs
You
a,
know what, let me email him, because I have some stuff to ask him anyway.
because, you know, with this, you know,
That line.
Because we can just start new
could
with
start over
someone
with
else
one-
and get rid of the
Yeah.
one, if Dan doesn't need that. I don't know if he does. Let me ask.
Okay. But
Or just put
by
a double
by
message on, push
September,
one
and
for
I
this,
get
push
through
two
the
for this,
summer,
and we got one line.
that needs to be done.
They can both use the same line. Right?
you know,
They do it at every school, they've got
Yeah,
17 lines.
that's what we do at the restaurant.
Okay, so the next thing here is just where we are with our actual expenses versus where we budgeted. This is still somewhat of a draft because there's a lot of little things that need to be cleaned up at month end. I have showed on here as though we were funding all of the reserve accounts. So you'll notice on the first page, first section, the audit reserve, $5,000 under actual. It will be, but it isn't now. There are some things that I know that are not in yet for the month. One is, I know that Mr. Taub has hours that are not in. Last year, the January to June hours were never paid until September, so I don't know if we could prevail upon Mr. Taub to get his hours in and get them paid and get them in this fiscal year properly. That would be nice. There's probably a small thing, but anybody who has a post office box at the end of this month, all the post office box fees are due. So if there are any other than Lori and I, if there are any other village post office boxes, we need to get those paid before they get turned off. Moving down into the fire department area, one of the things I noticed there was that you can see that the gas and diesel is more than half of the budget still remains. I suspect that some of this may have been the price of fuel is better, but in looking at the detail, there is only, if not all, only partially through April. So there's at least a month's worth of bills that are missing from here. The street lights, the parks and maintenance, we have almost half of that budget remaining. So I know you mentioned that you have some things that you were gonna.
Yeah, I'll mention that in
look
new
at
business,
in
yeah.
there. So we certainly have room within the budget to do that. The streetlights, I think that is fine, because, after David got on the case and got, all the credits, I think that truly will be a right number. And I know Lori is up to date on all the invoices. Now, on the second page of that, Norm, this might be of interest to you, is where all the highway expenses are. The favorable variance on the very first line on the highway wages line is correct. I actually have all of the payroll through June recorded in here. So that is a good number. The other thing that I did want to point out is the new equipment. The highway new equipment, where we have a $13,000 actual expense, believe me, that is not over budget. When we get to the last page, you'll see that we have $13,000 in sales, of a little more than that, of sale of old equipment. So it's not on this same line, but it certainly is covered. And then the other big one is the highway maintenance. Because we had some shared expenses way back at the beginning of the year, where Bennington and Shaftesbury and somebody else, I think, sent checks to share some expenses, that is in fact in this line. It is not in a revenue line, because at the time it was going to offset directly an expense incurred. So this is all that's been spent on highway maintenance.
You're talking salt, stuff like that?
$6,200. Salt is separate.
I don't know what we would share maintenance.
I don't,
There were checks that were sent to the highway department from the other towns. And my memory is that you said that they were gonna be, you were sharing some project.
Yeah.
salt, we sold salt to people.
Salt, but it was earlier than that.
No,
Right, but that
it was way earlier than that.
I don't know, we'd have to,
I did not, there are some 40 pages of detail which I did not yet send to you because I thought it would be better to let's get all the actuals, let's get the remaining in, why send it 2 weeks in a row? So my point here is that within this particular line of budget, there is very little spent that was actually budgeted, that was actually coded to a highway maintenance, a road maintenance or a highway maintenance number.
are you on highway maintenance or maintenance and vehicle maintenance?
Highway maintenance.
Oh, yeah, yes.
$6,300. So there's still $50,000 of the original budget remaining. I'm not suggesting that you rush right out and spend it all.
No, we'll go, because we're gonna need it.
But if this is where that other $20,000 that you mentioned is coming from.
Well, did that, in that highway maintenance line item, when we got reimbursed for the grant, did that go back in to create this,
The grants,
number?
no, the grants are separate, and I'll get to that in a minute.
So there's even that on top of that?
Yes, there is.
Okay, good, because we're gonna need
Yes.
that.
Okay. So,
You
again,
guys have just sold that.
again, this is showing that what will happen once the fund accounts, the reserve accounts are funded.
I don't believe the numbers. I just think I just think that something's been put in a different,
Well,
you've only spent $6,000 in a year on asphalt?
I'm having a hard
it's
time
more-
believing that number too, but I don't
Well,
know, you know what I mean?
there was reimbursement for something else.
Could have been spent,
Whatever that
or
is,
could have been
yeah.
spent, and something else was reimbursed, so it,
Yes.
But if we don't know, if
You
you,
spent quite a bit, you probably spent closer to
let's just pretend we're in good
50,000.
shape for a while.
But you've
Okay.
got some very
Bask in the
significant
sunlight for a little
checks
bit.
that came back.
You know, we didn't do any, the big projects last year were the fountain.
Right, which is
You
paid for
know,
by
we
donation.
didn't pay, the only thing that we paved was, we paved Bank Street. And that should have been, I mean, I would have thought that would have been paid out of the highway maintenance and then that would have been put back.
Now, there are some additional expenses that are not necessarily under the highway that have got separated out for grants.
All right, so that's how we
So
come
you'll
up with
see that
So-
when we get there.
Well, we've been pretty remember?
Yeah, stingy.
All those culverts that got replaced were
Grants.
for another arrangement we had a year prior. You know, so, just like a grader getting moved, you know what I mean? That was just worked out, so.
Well,
A
we'll,
lot of time was spent on the fountain, and that was, which the materials for that came out of the,
Came out of
Came out of the
fountain.
fountain, yep.
and we were holding things tight because of the Bank Street.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right,
Okay.
let's assume that's the case.
Under all the payments we've made, all the payments to the other organizations, did we do the Little League and the Coalition for the Homeless?
No, no.
Will they be paid just for planning purposes?
Well, they usually request it, and I don't even know who to contact.
For Little League, it would be Jeff. I can talk to him about that.
But let me know, because I'll
Tony's
write
got
that
8
check
minutes.
before the end of the year.
We've got 2 weeks.
Are
And
they
you know, there's such a turnover with staff all the time that people don't know
Sure.
where
Yeah.
the money's allocated,
Yeah.
who to ask.
Yeah.
I don't know about the homeless.
Well, it's Chris Oldham.
That's, yeah. That's,
Otherwise,
sold
it's
them.
just gonna go.
It's-
Chris Oldham, who used to be a selectman.
Selectmen.
I don't know how to get a hold of him, but I do know that he is.
And again, he probably doesn't know that.
And is Little League using this field?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
And,
Oh, this one gets used a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, you know, other municipalities don't ask for a request. So so we
They
do
might
it
not.
different, so someone new
wouldn't know that.
might not know that.
Other places do
yeah,
that.
unless people, you know, they should know, because the person who's leaving that position
Mm-hmm.
should tell them,
Well,
but it
it's
doesn't
a
happen.
lot of things you have to pass on to
At
someone
any
new.
rate, I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't missed something, but I did
No,
not
you
see them.
didn't. You didn't.
Okay.
I can get a hold of Jeff tomorrow.
Now, under this next section, the other expenditure section is where you're gonna see a lot of money spent, and there was no budget, and that was correct. The wing coat, the fire department wing coat, that was, you know, the 22,000, including the warrant that you guys just signed today. All of that is covered out of their own checking account, but it is an expense, so I did list it there. The fountain, there were actual expenses paid this year, $49,000, every penny of which is
for.
been raised. Now, not all of it this fiscal year, some of it was remaining from last year, but none of this is out of the cash balances. The Bank Street project here is where I kind of, Norm, this is that one that you submitted for.
Yes.
Yes.
We got $22,000 out of this. I only have 19.8, but I think it's because some of your time gets counted maybe and.
Yes.
Right, we can only, even though my time was bigger, my time can only count up to the 10%, and then the rest of it's all free. But if you don't, if you don't cross that line, you know, and that was our goal. Our goal was to do enough on that road to get this road paved.
Right.
And we hit it.
So when we turn the page here, you'll see we do have $22,000 that we got from the state on here.
Right.
The sidewalk, the various sidewalk grant projects, I think there were, I don't know how many there were, they're just, for all of that, I believe we have been reimbursed for almost all
It
of
would
that.
look,
so
it would
far.
look
There
like,
might be a couple
those were
left.
90% grants.
Yes, there were, and there were, most of those were covered. Again, the depot roof, that was a grant, that was most of it. We had some last fiscal year, I think some this year. And that intersection is the last expense, that was a real expense. We had gotten all of the funding in a previous year.
That was to
You
be
remember
seen.
that bill came in?
Yep.
That you guys did. Okay. This shows that the contingency fund is not yet in there, but it really will be. Bottom line is that if we look just at this section, at what the actual checks paid out versus what the budget was, it looks like we're over budget by $78,000, but it's not, because then you have all of the revenues. So we have the regular state aid for the highway, the 22, the state aid that is other, is that one Norm's, I don't even know what to call it, but it was the one that Norm submitted for. The 32,000 that was on the sidewalk grant projects, we have roughly 32,000 back. I know it's only 90%, but there's probably little pieces either spent last year and reimbursed this year, etc. So the $13,670, that was all highway equipment that was sold, but it
equals the new equipment.
It does equal that. The, and various other things in here. So if, again, just roughly speaking, it's not everything, but just looking at these numbers right now, we have revenue of $70,000 in excess of all the checks that were cut. If that makes sense.
Where did the money that we got from that, the lawsuit wind up?
It hasn't gotten, they haven't gotten it yet.
So we haven't gotten that.
I just got I just
that's
received
a
an
good
email.
thing to know.
Received an email today that that the lawyer, an email sent to Rob from that lawyer saying that there was a hitch, and very much apologetic, but it was cut, and it should be here anytime.
Cool beans, will we have that this year?
I hope so.
Even better.
Yeah, Norm already spent that
He already spent it.
a couple times
Well,
over.
still. Not this fiscal year, I mean, it's just, it all goes to the cash flow.
Oh, I know.
It's less that we'll have to think about having to borrow somewhere along the line. So I know there are things that are still missing.
What about the truck, the final truck payment? Where did
The
that come?
final truck payment is on, under highway, the
Right.
truck purchasing
Purchasing.
fund, that 23,000. That's the one that I said, it was voted to fund that, but I'm not gonna fund an account, only to unfund it and pay a check. So
Okay,
I just
So it's
showed
an
it
in
there.
and out.
okay.
So I know you're gonna have to scour things, Norm, for instance, small, but G&K, there were only 2 invoices for the month of May that were in here, 2 of the weeks. So I assume you have an invoice that comes in from them every week, or is it every other week?
Well, okay, well, you.
I just got a bill today, and we're only paying 2 of the 4 that they want. So there were 4,
Yeah,
but we only got 2, so we're only paying 2, because
right. So
that's what
the
you told me.
Right, that's the kind of thing, if we don't find those invoices, that's where you need to get those statements and match up to
Right.
find out
When
what
they-
you're missing.
When they come to the garage, sometimes they go on my side, their side, you know what, we don't have it. That's
Okay.
just flat
Well,
out, we
then-
don't have it.
Then what we'll do is
We've arranged with G&K to put all our invoices now, they're gonna be emailed straight to Lori
Great.
every week.
Perfect.
And that's it, but now you're gonna have to look at them to make sure they don't get somebody else's, because you know how those
I
bills
always look
always
at
get
them, Norm.
screwed.
I sent 3 back to the water department.
Well, and I too hand bills over there, but never anything comes this way.
Right, and then they
So-
have,
the ones
the
that are
good thing
yours.
to know is that they are there, and we will take those statements and we'll match
Right.
up, and we'll just
But
have to true them.
I would say that we should pay the whole invoice from G&K, we get uniforms once a week.
I know.
So you're gonna end up dealing with Leonardo or whoever the guy is, he's a pain in the ass and keeps calling.
The problem
so-
is, you cannot mix your systems and sometimes pay this statement and sometimes not. But we take those statements and look at the activity, check off what has been paid, then we can enter just from that statement the invoice numbers that are remaining.
Well, they have Lori's email, that's the
Yeah.
best I can tell you
Well,
right
then
now.
that's it. But I'm just.
They have my phone number,
small.
too.
But if you have anything else, anyone, not Norm specifically, but if there is anything that people know that needs to be paid, we might as well get it in here now. Because this is just. My last comment then is we need to pick a time where we can get back together towards the end of the month. I know Lori is away, I believe, at the end of the month. I am not here for the first scheduled meeting in July. I will be on mountain.
So when do you want to,
So you tell me what is convenient to get to Providence.
Lori, when will you not be here?
I won't be here the 25th, 6th, 7th, 8th. I don't have a calendar, but I think that's right.
So we could do it on, can we do it as late as the 30th? As the 30th?
I don't think I'm here.
28th is a Sunday.
Right.
Right, I won't be here.
That's the Pops concert day.
Okay.
We could
I'm gone.
do it as late as the 30th, that's really pushing it, because they all have to be printed. I just don't know whether you'll be back so that we can get together that Monday, the 29th.
I could get together late the 29th. Oh,
How about the
Or
23rd?
the option is we go the Tuesday, we do the 23rd, that's 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Are you there then?
yeah, here.
I'm gonna be out of town,
Oh,
I don't know, well, 30th is possible. I'd be coming back that day.
is that okay?
Well, we may,
I'll be here the 23rd.
it may be a luxury to think we can all get here, but can we get,
Yeah.
at least get a
Yeah.
quorum and
I can't be here. I have a course I have to take in Burlington, the
23rd?
I'm gone 23rd, 24th. I'll be back the 25th.
Then Lori's gone.
Uh-huh.
We need our secretary.
Can you do it
Clerk.
the 30th?
I'm gone the 30th too.
You're so difficult.
The 29th is a
For a
Monday.
meeting, I could do the 29th in the evening.
Yeah, I actually could do that too.
29th?
In the evening.
You will be here, you won't be here?
No.
Yep, not the 29th.
I won't either.
And you won't either, that's pushing it for,
Well, you would have,
Well,
You
up
would
to
have
2
the
years
three of you.
Yeah.
ago, we never even had it until I jumped up and down because a lot of my budget got screwed up.
That's
So
not
what if-
true, we always had one,
No,
and
we
then we
didn't.
skipped.
We just didn't-
We
one.
didn't since
get a budget.
2008, and I could
I've
prove
been here a
it,
lot
so
longer than you, and we did.
we never did. So what about the 23rd, at least to get most of the pile out of the thing?
well, again, it's not important that all of us, as long as you can get 3 of us here. So if the 3 of you say you're gonna be here,
Janice doesn't know, Janice doesn't think the 23rd?
I could, yeah, no.
Oh, you can.
I
I
can do the
can, but I gotta
23rd.
call it an evening because I have a tentative delivery for the turbines, so, which puts me locked till 5 because I don't know.
Here makes most sense.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
don't know.
evening.
Yeah, I
Before
could do
evening.
evening for
Yeah.
sure. Daytime's not great.
I mean, Lori was saying she was good for the 29th.
Because it's hard to see.
You were here for the 29th. If you wanna push it to the 29th, even I can't be here. I can't be here for either one of
Really,
those.
the
but-
29th or 30th are really probably gonna be the better days to do it.
You're a maybe a 30?
Maybe the 30, yeah.
I'm a 30.
I can do either one.
Let's do the
29th.
30th.
I mean, I can't do any of those things.
What
so-
time, late
Set.
afternoon, evening, what are we thinking?
Might be nice to do it a little earlier than 7.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm coming back from Delaware and probably won't be back till 4 or 5, so.
But you could look
Could we
at
do
Janice,
5 or
if
6,
you,
or-
if you wanted
I'd rather
to
do it early,
comment,
too.
we would send the warrant.
No, but I want to make sure we have a quorum.
Warrant.
Let's try 6?
6 o'clock on the 30th.
That's a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Tuesday.
I'll try to get the bills to you on the 23rd or so.
That'd be great.
For, till then, and then you'll only have a small file to do, waiting at your house when I get back.
30th, right?
Very thoughtful.
Anything I can spend,
6
days, I'll try to spend.
PM.
You just found a whole
Yeah.
bunch of money, though. I go crazy.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have the fuel bill, the Home
30th,
Depot
6
bill. There's
o'clock.
some that just don't
Right.
come until the 5th.
Well, we'll get what we
Yeah.
can.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, and then the last, I said that was the last.
You
thing.
did.
You did.
I know.
Was that true?
Once we do this, I will be, in the next couple of weeks, I will be contacting Love Cody to find out what we need to do to get an audit underway. Because there are many, many things about these statements that, balances that I really would appreciate an auditor to look at. And not the least of which is we just have to figure out where we started from yet.
Yep, yep. As always, thanks, Mary.
I am done.
DRB, I don't believe there was anything. Fire department, no. Water board, no. New business, let's start with the planning commission report. been recommended by the planning commission to adopt changes to the zoning. Do I read this whole thing?
It's only the last part.
Well, yeah.
Just the,
The reasons why aren't important, just change.
therefore, the planning commission recommends that bylaw section 11 be amended to include a new section as follows. 11.2, conditional use in the conservation district to include commercial stables. There was a concern as to whether or not the planning commission, I guess, was asked to consider a change that might allow for a stable, sort of a stables situation, so that they set it up in a way that it would always still be a conditional use, which means it always would go by review, so that it would always.
The DRB board makes the final decision.
Exactly. All we're doing is saying, yeah, we agree with that, but.
Yeah, in
But then
each of the districts, just for those people that don't know, there's 3 sets of use. One are prohibited, which means under no conditions can this ever be allowed. One is permitted, which means the zoning administrator can just approve it without any other to do, and then the conditional, which goes before the DRB.
And there still may be other issues that they do have to deal with for this particular,
This
the
is only
DRB.
saying that in general, that's,
No, I like the proposal myself. It makes sense. I mean, it's
Right.
barns anyway.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, then, do we have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the recommendation on the part of the planning committee to amend 11.2 conditional uses in the conservation district to add commercial stables.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done. Other new business.
I've got, trying to figure out which this is new and which is old. One that I know is new. So I believe it's 11 Water Street. That's the property owned by Jamie Carey that had the fire a year ago or so. He has spoken to the fire department and would like to donate it to the fire department for whatever drill purposes.
nope, burn it down.
They would like to do. I don't think they would burn it though. I don't think they can because of the potential where it sits, but they could use it for other things. He's interested in doing that, but there are some formalities that would have to take place. He would have to, obviously it needs to be appraised and there are closing costs. So he has already spoken to the fire department. They are willing to do it. He just asked me to bring it forward to see what we thought about it. And his condition would be, or what he's asking us is if we could cover, if he donates it to the fire department for that use, if the village would cover the closing costs and appraisal for it. Which
No.
I guess we could then go back to the fire department and say, well, this could be, if you're using it for drill and things like that, that could potentially come out of their wind coat. I'm assuming it wouldn't be any more, I mean, appraisals are usually around $500, and I would assume the closing cost of something like that would be roughly $1,000 to $1,500, because it would be very simple. I guess the only questions that popped into my head were, what's the fire department gonna use it for?
Yeah.
What's the state of the property when they're done using it, and what would we then be responsible for? Because ultimately, it would be a donation of the property to the village, because the fire department went over, they just have the rights to drill on it.
Wouldn't you
So
also have to do a title search? I mean, if.
that's part of the
That's
closing.
part of the closing.
So that would be, so the closing cost would be, we pay a lawyer to do all the things that you do for,
Yeah.
at this point, it's not gonna affect the tax roll a whole lot, because it can't be appraised for a
No,
whole
but if he
lot.
can sell the property to somebody who
But
built a new structure. on
My
it.
other thought was, it's such a small plot, I don't know that they would ever have that happen, but we could also offer it for sale to the 2 adjoining properties to see if they'd be willing. And we could do that before we agree to this. And I don't know, those are just a few things that came into my mind. What would the site look like when the fire department, who's responsible for it once that is done?
Demolition of that house will be $10,000 to $15,000 minimum.
But if the fire department is gonna use it for drill, they may be able to somehow, I mean, if they're using it for drill and destroy it, do they have ways of getting rid of that without paying too much.
I
because
have
it's
no
free use of
interest
the
in
fire
this
department.
proposal, and back channels with the fire department have made it clear that that's not a very good idea from their standpoint either.
Yeah, I
So
would
the fire
have,
department's not interested.
I have a whole lot of questions, like, are we just leaving a vacant building?
You know,
I mean,
liability.
I have a ton of questions.
That's one of my questions.
I
was,
just see that
what's the state of
deteriorating.
the-
at a-
This is called an interesting way for an owner to get out from under a horrible situation.
And to take it as a donation on his taxes.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't trying to hide the fact that that's the whole point,
Oh, yeah,
is to,
right.
because he's having a hard time doing anything with it. and
He
at least-
offered it to the syndicate too.
I'm not
Yep.
gonna have a house on the entry to the town be a burnout, you know, worse than it is now.
The syndicate looked at it, it's gonna cost, it's gotta be demolished, it's gonna cost too much to bring it up to any kind of really, presentable and habitable building.
So my question would be then, is it worth going back to the fire, and I'll be happy to do this, is it worth going to the fire department and say, so if this happens, what is the condition of the property when you're done? If they say, we're gonna destroy it and leave a pile there, then obviously it wouldn't be anything
And
we're
the
interested in.
timeline.
Right,
Is this
exactly.
happening in 5 years? Is this happening next week?
Right.
I would,
Just because it's an unoccupied structure doesn't mean it's a fire hazard in and of itself, and it's right across the street from your business, it's right next door to all these others. What really needs to happen is condemnation proceedings have to occur, and the house has to be dealt with legally by the owner.
That's what insurance is for.
That's what-
Insurance
right.
covers all that stuff.
So, just so we're clear, do you want me to go to the fire department at all, or are we just, do you want me to just get a hold of them and say, I think it's just something that they're,
I don't see any light on the end of that tunnel.
okay?
I see it as, at bare minimum, being a very long road to understanding how this works and making it okay. And probably not the village paying for closing costs in the end.
No.
But again, I would think that was something I think we could have
So is it
agreed to dish off on somebody else,
Right,
but we
right,
wouldn't
right.
actually cover it, but.
Is it clear to the fire department that they can't accept it unilaterally?
Yes.
No, that's why,
Yeah,
that's why
yeah,
Jamie called me.
yeah, okay,
I've known him
okay.
for a long time, so he knew I was part of this board and asked if I would come to, and just
Okay.
bring it up, and I said I'd be happy to, so.
If there is a further fleshing out of the legal questions and the liability questions and the safety questions, and they want to come and actually speak directly to us, sure, but right now I'm just
And he did say he would be happy.
uncategorically opposed to.
He did say he'd be happy to come to any meeting
It wasn't.
to discuss it, so.
Yeah,
mean,
I
if-
think
If I go back to him and say, do some research on, go to the fire department, what's the condition, what.
Where has this happened before? What were the outcomes? How possibly could the municipality not end up with just a blistering liability of dealing with a total worthless piece of property?
I'm kind of with you. I'd like to find a way to help this person, but right now the proposal, it scares me a little
Well-
too much.
If it was someplace else, then where
Well,
it
that's
is.
the other thing. If it was out on the outskirts of town
Oh,
out
yeah.
here and there was no other
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah, I get that too. My only thought was,
The landowners next door have something to say about something
Yeah.
like that, I would think.
and my only thought was, as it sits now, it's the first thing you see when you drive into town, so.
And
it's-
that's why we should be moving towards enforcing a legal solution to the problem.
Well, I'll get back in touch with Jamie and just say there's some more research that needs to be done to satisfy us.
Okay.
Okay.
Did the fire department express interest in that?
When Jamie called, he approached the fire department first, I think, probably not knowing what channels he would have to go through. And I think initially, when he asked them, they were probably like, well, sure, why not? So I think they just said, yes, they were interested. I think that was probably before they had any conversations with anybody, knowing what would actually go into it. So they did express interest, but I think it was just a casual kind of interest.
It looks like you're getting a gift until you think about it.
Well, sure, no, it could lead into a lot, absolutely.
Kind of like McCullough Mansion?
Like what?
McCullough Mansion?
Yeah, right.
You want it?
So we're done with that. I guess I can, I want to wrap this all into one thing
Okay.
that we could call new. It's, as we saw in this, I knew we would have, once the sign fell through the company, I knew there was going to be extra money left over in Park and Rec. And there are a few things around that need to be done that I'm going to try to get priced out this week so we can get it pushed through this year. One would be getting wood chips at the Lions Park to fill in under the swings. It's just, those things compress over time.
Yeah, those rubber chips.
Yeah, and they have to be a certified playground chip that doesn't splinter and all that other fun stuff, which means it's 10 times as much, but.
Of course.
We
And
should
the
have
other,
a quote on the roof for the roofs for the other ball field out on Wellington Road too.
yeah, that's something that I think we're probably gonna jump into next year, because that's gonna be a collaboration between Little League, Park and Rec, and probably, I know the Lions have expressed interest in that too, so that's,
One of them's got a big hole.
yeah, no, that's probably gonna happen next year, and we won't be able to get that
We get a
done.
friendly, well, I think after July, because we get a friendly little phone call from one of our insurance companies and saying, they need to do something with this.
Oh, yeah, no, that's kind of in the works, but it's not gonna happen in the next 2.5 weeks. But yeah, that is something that's on the list. And the other one, we mentioned the dog waste receptacle, for, near Wellings Field.
What's
We
that?
talked about, you sent me the magazine. I got it here somewhere, the
Oh,
dog
yeah.
waste receptacle. So, I actually brought it. Is this something that we can order from, or, because it's a government? So do you have access to order through this? You sent this to me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So you can order, or is this something that we can do as a municipality, or is it?
How much is it?
The most
Are you gonna
expensive
order
one is like
before?
$380.
Wonder if we can use that for
Or-
recycling.
Yeah, good call, recycling.
I think you've
How much
got
was it?
$380, something like that.
What
I
were,
think we're only gonna get one. We'll see what happens, and
about
if it works and it looks like people are actually using it, we could explore getting more, but for now, I would only get one.
I thought it was only 500.
No, it's 1,000.
Oh, you.
Talk to,
I can do it, but, yeah, well.
They don't like it.
I was just actually talking to Dave at Whitman's about this, because they put one up.
Yeah, they got one in front.
And,
And they might be able to get us
they
one of
might
them.
be able to get us one even better.
Just get it.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I'll
I
check
think
with
he said
Whitman's.
something to me like, you know.
And where did you want one of those? At the,
I wouldn't stick it without talking to you. They went near Wellings Field. One of the residents who walks down there all the time, there are a bunch of people that use that for their dogs. So anywhere near, kind of where, just before you cross the railroads, far enough away from there so we don't have 3 railroad employees watching us put it in the ground and charging us to come down and do it.
as long as we're 20 feet away, we're going.
So it'd be somewhere in that area, but I'd touch base with you and figure out where.
We're gonna buy 2, I think the next one will be down at Henry Bridge.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it gets a lot of use too.
Yeah,
That'll be another spot where people would walk an animal.
and well,
I think they'd be more apt, that class of people would be more apt to use that thing.
Exactly, then the people dumping their trash.
I mean, my recommendation, we'll start with one there, see if it actually gets used and see how it goes, and then we'll maybe get a few more for anywhere else. And then, again, with this mess you were handing out before, if I get some of these things priced out by the end of this week, we could also look at if 1 or 2 of those would make a difference to help figure out where we're gonna pair things up. You know, most of them are going to parks anyway, and if there's money that we have budgeted, we might as well spend it.
If we were gonna buy like a colored one, or 1 or 2 colored ones, you know, I would actually probably go over to the Little League field, where most of our younger crowd, you know what I mean, actually really educate them, say, bang, there's, you know, there it is,
Okay.
you know.
You're talking about the recycling things.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll touch base with you before the end. You're around all this week?
We're gonna start painting tomorrow, I'll be all over the place.
Okay, well, I'll find you. Small finish.
Doing nighttime painting again, or?
Well, our plan was to paint Wednesday night, but I think that got tanked today. I watched, just like in the wintertime, I watch all 3 newses and I'm scared it's supposed to rain like at 3 o'clock in the morning, and when you come in at midnight, you know.
Yeah.
So,
You're gonna have to wait.
I don't think so. If the plan works out, we're gonna paint like heck tomorrow on the outskirts and, you know, kind of just keep circling the town until we get to the center. When we do the big intersection, we gotta do that at night. And we got it. It's too easy, like the, you know, Bank Street crosswalk, or the school was talking about, that they'd like to get done and stuff. It's just, there's just so much traffic there. It's crazy to do it any other time. We might, if we get enough done, then maybe, because Thursday we got to mow, unless you don't want me to mow this week and let the grass grow. If you tell me that, I'd be more than happy to keep right on painting and
This might be the last week you want to do
I was gonna
that, though,
say,
because
this
with all
could be
water
this
we've
could
got-
be the week you wouldn't have to mow.
I don't
Now
know.
stuff's gonna start growing. It may,
Well, I think it needs to be going now.
okay,
Well, I was gonna say, I think, you know, if you skip it
Probably
this
has.
week, now that everything's gonna be growing, you're gonna have a mess when you come back.
yeah.
Right. You know, so that, you know, and you gotta have two people. I tried to get Skip and I tried to get Jim to come in and help us. You know, I might be able to get Jim on Thursday for a little while, and then Zach can mow. You know, and our field down by the Henry Bridge, that grows like mad,
Yeah, it does.
you know.
It's all that dog waste.
Okay. Are you done, sir?
Yeah, look at my list.
I have one quick comment. Just when people put signs down in Lincoln Square, let's remember that's a traffic circle. People have been putting them down so you can't actually see to make the left and go around. It's just a safety hazard. I was in two different vehicles, one high, one low, and I could not see to make a left without actually going out into the oncoming traffic lane. So,
No, that's starting to get out of hand again, in terms of what people think can be put there and stuff, and.
No, that one was a particularly bad spot.
yeah. Yeah, I actually moved it over a few feet because I couldn't make the turn, and I make that turn every single day. So.
Should I do this under new business, the charter?
Well, you can do it under old business. Let's go to old business.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sad to say that our charter did not pass in this legislative session. And the reason it didn't is because we were found not in compliance with the warning. And just briefly, the information we had spoke about having to do warnings, but didn't provide details. If you drill down into some of the other laws, it states that municipalities need to, for this, need to put a warning in a local newspaper, and we did not do that. So,
Aside from the fact there were 2 or 3 articles about it in the paper.
that's,
we didn't-
yeah, but,
we didn't-
yes.
Didn't put it in the
Well,
part
there
of the
was
paper
one.
that nobody
Yeah.
reads,
Yeah.
the warning section.
Warning section, right. So, we got a memo from the House Committee on Government Operations and made 2 suggestions that we could do to remedy this. It said the village, oh, wait a minute, I need copies here of the letter.
I sent everyone.
Oh, did everyone get it?
I've got it.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I didn't know that.
While you're reading it.
Yeah. The village could either submit the proposed charter amendments again to the voters at a duly warned meeting in compliance with the statute, or validate the action of the original meeting in accordance with 17 VSA 2662, validation of municipal meetings. So I researched what that was, what that option involved. And this is what I found out. It says, when any of the, I'll let you pass them out. It says, when any of the requirements as to notice or warning of an annual or special municipal meeting, and I'm assuming here that meeting includes elections, it seems to have been omitted or not complied with, the omission or non-compliance, if the meeting and the business transacted at it is otherwise legal and within the scope of the municipal powers, may be corrected and legalized by vote at a regular meeting or special meeting of the municipality called and duly warned for that purpose. Complexity of a
This
new...
would be that we would advertise the meeting, and it would be a special meeting, say here.
Could be next month's normal meeting.
Could be at next month's normal meeting or whatever. And you have to have 2 weeks warning, or is there a time, or
Well,
whatever it is for the other one, and we have to
Yeah.
comply with
yeah, Well, let's see. I
So
would
then-
think it would be, I'll have to double check
So-
that.
Double check with somebody at the state who actually can give you.
Well, this is
good
Secretary of
information.
State's
Yeah.
office,
Right.
yeah.
And then, so you go
That's
through
by
that,
Rob.
but it still wouldn't be until the next congressional session that this could be ratified.
That's right, though it could, I assume, go right in January. The bill's been drafted, and the committee's familiar with
But that would be
it.
the earliest that it.
Yes, yes. Now, on the other hand, if the changes, I don't know when the changes would then take place, whether they would be immediate or whether they'd go into effect at the end of the session.
So that would determine how we do voting next year for.
That's right, in March. Right, right. So there's a little research left to be done here, but it seems like this is
But
the,
I would assume if they pass it, when they pass it, they would give us a date that, right?
well, I
If it's
think
accepted, would say
they're
it's accepted.
usually, yeah, a date attached to it.
Yeah.
If we run this, I want to run this past Rob. The only reason I want to ask that is because I'm not clear in what they're saying. If they're saying that we had to notice the election, then we have to renotice the election and redo the election? Or did we have to notice the fact that we as a board elected to do this? And the distinction isn't clear for me in the
No,
memorandum.
I think what this is that we, whoa,
Poltergeist.
that'll
So
be,
it's not clear to me
wake
in
up our
that,
viewing audience.
which one they're talking about, that's all.
I want to run it by Rob, but my interpretation of this is that we acknowledge that we didn't do it correctly, but because of the warning part of it, but that everything else was legal in what we did.
Right.
And so we give, we
corrected
don't,
that
we
once.
correct that one.
Right, because we did post some warnings, didn't
We
we?
we posted lots of warnings.
It has to be published in
One
The
the.
requirement.
newspaper.
Which one did we
It was
not?
way in the back of.
Well, it wasn't in the legal section, Bill, on that.
Gotcha.
It was an article instead of an actual post.
I think it's a way of giving us an out when everything else, including the vote, was affirmative, you know.
Yep.
But let's make sure.
Right.
That's why.
So-
Yeah, I'm just not clear when I read it, I bet, which is probably my understanding.
So, just one thing too, and I was reading through this. This is town meeting warnings. And they provide, this is from the Secretary of State's website. Warning and notice required publication of warnings. The legislative body of a municipality shall warn a meeting by posting a warning and notice in at least 2 public places in the town and in or near the town clerk's office, and then, you know, their amount of time. In addition, the warning should be published in a newspaper of general circulation in the municipality at least 5 days before the meeting, unless the warning is published in the town report and the town report is mailed or otherwise distributed to the voters at least 10 days before the meeting. So I just want us to be aware that when we
And
made
that's
it,
for the town report. That's for the annual meeting.
right.
Is that what you said? It's for warning for the annual meeting? Is that what you
I
said?
guess it,
For?
yeah.
So instead of
What-
delivering.
It says
them-
warn-
Different than what we've always done, it's always in the newspaper.
Is it in the newspaper? Oh, I'm sorry.
Always.
Oh, okay.
The annual meeting.
The annual meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, because.
Oh, okay.
$600
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's ridiculous.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that, Lori. Thank you. Well, then I won't worry about that.
It's always been there.
Okay.
Okay,
Which is a good example of how no one reads.
No, I know.
Legal
It-
section, yeah, right?
And the
Yeah.
same thing, for all these public meetings we have with the grants, that's one of the restrictions, and it's so stupid, because nobody ever
No one
looks
knows
at it.
it's there. And this is the legal clerk's office, and we always post it on the board regularly.
Right. So what I'll do is check in with Rob about this, make sure that got the right interpretation of that, and then, and the timeline, and schedule it
Whenever.
when it would, you know, either this coming meeting or the meeting afterwards.
Yeah, my concern is that in the sentence specifically, it's understanding that that a warning containing notice wasn't of the proposed charter amendment, blah, 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 may have had to precede the vote. If that's the case, then all the people who were gonna vote, whether it was us as a board or the village, which entity has to get back together after the notice is filed? All the voters or just these voters? And that's where I can't make the distinction. When I read this, I'm not sure exactly what they're saying. Do we have to hold the vote again?
Well, except that then they say you can do this or that.
Yes,
Right.
in her memo
You can have
here.
a vote or,
So Bill, aren't you inviting the voters here with?
Yes, it would be like a,
you're inviting them to come again if they'd
Yeah,
like
it's
to.
gonna show up. but
Right,
it would be-
right, and that's where
Yeah.
it's not clear.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
So we have some time on this. What I think is that if you get an answer straight up real quick, and it seems very clear, then we could warn it officially the way we're supposed to for next month's meeting.
If
It's
it's
done.
not 30 days, because
Yeah, it does say-
2 weeks,
July
right?
is the 7th. July
So
9th
it
is-
realistically might need. to be
Realistically, it'll be August.
Yes.
August.
But let's get everything dotted and crossed and then make sure. And
It's
then,
probably 30 days, Janice.
Yes, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anything else? Old? Do we have an executive needs?
We have one contract.
Contract. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive.
And we will go into executive?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.